Hey guys, Sturkey Cat here. I want to talk about the Gluth kiting strategy. Um, you know, hopefully I'm making this video mainly for the mages in the guild, so they can kind of see what we feel works the best and what I feel personally works the best based on the attempts where we had 3 mages and then the several attempts where I thought I could god mode it and just do it all myself, and then I realized pretty quickly that that's a lot harder than it looks. And mainly the reason why is because it's super important in this kiting to aggro the mobs at the right time so that you can kind of keep them all grouped together, and that way it doesn't become chaotic. I found that especially on the attempts where I was doing it solo and trying to get the mobs spawning on all 3 grades as one single mage. The attempts where I was more successful were the attempts where I was able to aggro sort of like 1 2 3 1 2 3 as I went and sort of keep them all in a group. But most of the time it wasn't that easy to do that because mobs were running around aggroing all kinds of other people. So what Foomtek's actually going to do here in this is actually he's trying to throw me curveballs and see how I handle them. So you'll notice I'm not going to do everything perfect. In fact, I'm going to get hit once or twice here. But what I'm going to try to do is play this, and I'm going to try to talk about it as it happens, but it happens very fast and it's hard to keep up with everything that's going on. So what I would recommend is that watch this video once through, listen to me rambling on, and then maybe you can mute my voice and just watch it again and try to see where things go right and where they go wrong, and just pay attention to sort of like what I'm trying to do, the overall concept of what I'm trying to do. So mainly to explain it quickly before we jump in, is Foomtek's going to aggro mobs and bring them towards me. So he's simulating the spawn of one mob sort of every 8 seconds or whatever it is on Gluth. And you're going to notice where Cater's standing, the triangle, is going to be dropping an Earthbind totem. So what you're going to kind of see is that there's a clear sort of inner circle of the Earthbind effect. And you're going to see that I'm going to run on an outer circle ahead and further out than the mobs are, and they're going to constantly be trying to run straight towards me. So I'm running in a wider circle so that they're straight towards me continuously changes, and it forms this inner circle just at the radius of the Earthbind. And the last thing I want you to pay attention to is how I adjust that circle as I'm running. So when in one of these instances, Foomtek will actually bring a mob sort of way in front of me so that I have a difficult time reaching it. And you'll notice that I could just throw a fire blast on it to grab aggro on that immediately, but then what's going to happen if that happens? If I got all these mobs behind me and then I throw a fire blast to grab a mob in front of me, it's going to turn and it's going to hit me once, 2 or 3 times before it finally gets grouped up with the rest of them. So you'll actually notice that I do beeline through the center, like almost directly running through Cater, and I shorten my outer circle significantly for that 1 second, but that's so that I can speed up and get to the other side of the circle as fast as possible. And you'll notice the mobs are going to catch up to me a little bit when that happens. But you'll see that even with the Earthbind effect, it's still pretty easy for me to stay ahead of those mobs. And then I wait until I get past the mob that Foomtek has shackled there before I actually aggro it. That way it gets grouped up with the rest of them. So I'll just go ahead and play this now, and I'll try to talk through it as we go. The last thing I want you to pay attention to is on this very first mob that he brings, I actually aggro a second mob, and you'll notice the Earthbind tick effect doesn't affect the second mob until later than the first one. So you'll notice the second mob is actually going to hit me. And in Gluth, that actually is going to apply debuff. So this one that just spawned is the second mob, quote unquote. But this will actually demonstrate that Earthbind has this sort of tick period, so it can sometimes take a little bit of time before it takes effect. So you notice the first one's already affected, or it's affected by it now, but the second one isn't yet. And then now they're both affected. You can see the purple effect on their feet, and now you're going to start to notice I have control of them. So as you can see, I'm running in this outer circle. They're sort of running in this inner circle, and I pretty much got those mobs right at the radius of Earthbind. It's only about 10 yards or 8 yards or something like that. So not really wide, but it still gives me a big wide berth to grab. So notice right here on the star, I waited till after I got past it, but I actually missed it with the Arcane Explosion. I waited just a little bit too long, so I turned and Fire Blasted. Hopefully you don't have to do that, because it's much more mana expensive to use the Fire Blast, but that is an option for you, especially if you're in front of the mob, so that you can have it, you can grab aggro on something that maybe slipped through your fingers and bring it to you. Here, this one's outside of the circle, so he did that to try to see if I could adjust and widen my circle. And so because of that, you notice I got hit because I wasn't able to get it in Earthbind range before it caught up to me, so I got hit once there. You know, the worst possible scenario that can happen here is if you get dazed, because that slows you significantly and then you pretty much have to blink out. This is the case where I had to sort of cut that circle short so I could get past the mob, and then I Arcane Explosion to grab the aggro on that one. So you can see that, you know, things get chaotic, but it's fairly easy as one mage with one great to keep control of, that you can watch the mobs as they spawn, or in this case as Funtek brings them, and then come up with the correct strategy for that mob in order to pull it up and pile it in with the rest of your mobs. And so you can see these 6 or 8 that I've got now are all pretty much stacked on top of each other. I run past the star, I cast Arcane Explosion. I can see that the star joined in with the rest of them, and so great. You know, if it's in range of the Earthbind totem when I pick up aggro, it's super easy, because then the mobs already have Earthbind effect before I hit them. On the cases where they're wide, it's not as easy, because I have to try to like run towards the Earthbind totem, and it's most likely the mob's going to be going full speed, and the mob runs faster than I do. So unless I burn a blink, which I don't want to use, then it's pretty much guaranteed to catch up to me and hit me like at least once. But as soon as it's in that Earthbind range, then it's less of a problem. So what we're actually going to do in the strategy, at least for now, but I think this is probably going to stick. What we're actually going to do is put the Earthbind totems between where the Great is and where the raid is. So maybe I'll draw a picture or something on the screen if I can, but essentially what we found to be the most effective, so there he was throwing me curveballs and stuff in that, what you just watched, but what we found to be the most effective strategy, excuse me, was when he would grab mobs and bring them directly through the center. So he wouldn't shackle, he would just run that mob directly through the center of the Earthbind totem, and so I could intentionally wait until the mob had both Earthbind and was behind me. And then at that point I can hit it with an Arcane Explosion ideally, or a Fire Blast if I had to, and get it to aggro me. Now, if you can picture this, hopefully you can. If it was easiest that way, because I don't have to necessarily wait for the mob to be behind me. And try to stay with me here, but if you can picture, like the mob running in front of me as I'm approaching it right here, I can just wait for the mob to get to the other side, or to get to like the center of where the Earthbind totem's actually planted. If it's at the center or the other side, then I grab aggro there, and it's gonna sort of make a more direct path towards me until it ends up joining up with the rest of the group. Hopefully you can visualize that. So if we put the Earthbind totems, if we put the raid in one big ball, and then we have the greats here, here, and here, and we put the Earthbind totems in the center, but here, here, and here, like sort of a smaller circle, then the mobs will always spawn on the greats and run towards the raid. And the healers will be standing in that raid, so they'll always run through the center of the Earthbind totem. And as one single mage, it should be relatively easy to always grab aggro on that. So again, hopefully this makes sense. I pretty much just like took that whole thing, or did that whole thing in one take. But if I feel like there's more to add to it, then I'll probably record onto this later and throw it at the end of the video. But I think that gives you a pretty decent demonstration of what sort of works and what the best strategy is. And if you're looking at this and you're kind of getting new ideas from it, and you're kind of thinking like, oh wow, I didn't really consider that. I was just really trying to get aggro on things as soon as I could. Join the club. I mean, dude, this is what we were all doing when we were trying to learn this fight. it's just that, you know, you sort of realize what it's like anything. You have to like practice, right? And you realize, oh, this shit kills me when I do it this way, and it doesn't kill me when I do it this way. So I would suggest, you know, practicing this. And if you want, we can jump on the PTR and we can practice this ourselves. So we can us mages can get a hang of this, and hopefully just, you know, go in and stomp Gluth in the next week or two. So. I'm just gonna stop it here. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this video helps. Feel free to ask me any questions if you have any, and you know, throw out any suggestions if you got that too. But we did this for like 2 hours, and you know, we were pretty confident in the strategy that we felt was best. This sort of beelining through the center of the totem strategy. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later.